some water now.
Yeah. Nah, maybe I should say nah. This beat kind of slow. Slow the flow down for a second, let me catch it like I'm out of breath. I ain't in the kitchen, I ain't reckless. I've been looking up the skies for the half a second pass, but I ain't look inside. I'ma let it all go for the pen bleed. Out of time smooth, but it make me look to the heart, but I can't see nothing but this art, and the pen B is a purist on the rhyme. I ain't even frontin', all I do is give them all of mine as I'm rocking back and forth in the chair, looking up at the stars, feeling like I'm gon' dare to break they hearts for the moment, cold as I'm moaning. I don't know what's up with myself, but I'm on it. Past the notion of life in the flash lane, cause I got to slow it down at times. I've been out of rhymes, past my time, ayy, load this up, ayy, revert times, ayy, back to when I used to spaz and used to cry and used to mess this up, ayy, hard to done this easily, but I can man it up, start the show, losing flow, man, this beat's cool, man. Alright. Welcome to Vine Tree Radio. It's your boy West here chilling with
Mauriwowi, how's it going?
And you know we got a guest. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jaidah.
Welcome.
Welcome to Vine Tree Radio.
Thank you.
It's a nice night out. You know, we got Shadow in the building, everybody in the building. And, you know, this is a great podcast today because we get to kind of, you know, touch on a lot of the different parts of music again. And we get to talk about something we love to talk about, the journey, if you will. Like, you know, like the path to getting, like, where you are. Because I feel like that's something we all kind of share, but it's, like, unique, if you will. You know, because everybody's journey is unique, but, like, we all got one. And it's all something we be, like, interested in amongst everybody that comes around. And, like, you've always been somebody going back, you know what I'm saying, way, way back that, like, I remember, like, I felt like your path was something people always looked at and the things you did of, like,
Yeah,
I mean, I felt like, I don't know how you felt about that, like, but I felt like it was something that you always had, like, you know, people knew you was going to go somewhere with what you was doing.
That's so interesting because I never looked at it that way. With creativity and just like art, it's always just flowed from me. So when people would tell me like, yo, there's something about you, I'm just like, what do y'all see? Because I don't see it. Like, I really don't. And honestly, I don't know, maybe it was more so like in college I started to shy away from like that attention. I would put stuff out, but I'll keep to myself because I'm not good with like a lot of attention. I like to stay to myself, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So you feel like just in general kind of you got to thrive in your what your thing is in kind of being away from that pressure?
You know, like, so first and foremost, I should probably say like I'm a storyteller, like through different platforms. Like I write, I take photos, I film. I don't know if I should talk about music. I'm not like a professional like Wesley, but
Right.
I would love to write music one day, but yeah, I'm just a storyteller. Like whenever I just go through like experiences or I, you know, connect with people around me, I like to tell that story. Yeah, so that's what I do. What was the question again?
I think I was wondering like going off of what you talked about, like the idea of kind of like separating yourself.
Yeah.
Like, was that like something that benefited you like in that time, or do you feel like, you know what I'm saying, or it was all a part of it? Like the times when it was really like people were telling you, being around that energy of like, you know, you're going to do something great, or like the times when you kind of just looked in yourself to be like, I'm going to do something great. Like,
yeah, transparently, like when you get all of those like positive comments, there's like a line that you have to draw, because you can either use that to like feed your ego and let people just continue to like validate your art, and then or you can go to the other side and be like, yo, I'm gonna create for me and not for other people. I think like my journey has been like, I've always created for myself at first, but as I started to grow, I'm like, am I making content for other people or am I making it for me? And I had to literally take myself out of like, you know, that environment, because you know I be deleting my social media a lot.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that. That's like an interesting topic I want to touch on for sure. Like as far as, I mean, should we even go back? I mean, we can even go back to like in us like meeting. I know we met in high school, but then from then, so like when you went to like college, at what point do you feel like you were like full into social media and like to the point where you like disconnected? Because I don't really remember exactly when it was when you were like, nah, no more of this.
I think like that's really interesting. That's a really interesting question. I think like as of recently, maybe the last few years, like I started deleting my social media a lot more seriously because, like I said, I needed to make sure that I was creating art from my heart, you know what I mean, and not for other people, because we live in like a digital age where people are just putting content out all the time, and it can be oversaturated and overlooked. And not gonna lie, like I would feel kind of salty, like I put my hard work into this, like this is my heart, and it was getting overlooked. But then when I checked myself, I'm like, why does it even matter that it's getting overlooked? You know what I mean? So like I just had to make sure that it was coming from like a pure place and not for the validation of other people, you know? And I think that speaks volumes. I think a lot of artists who come from that authentic place where they're like, I don't care what anybody else says, but this is my story. Those are the people that you draw close to. Hi.
Well, man, talk a little bit about how you got to SCV in the first place. I feel like because
Santa Clarita Valley? Yeah,
because I mean, I know that's how Mauricio also got to meet you. And I know that's also not where you're originally from, and I feel like that plays a lot into where you are at now, being that you just came from Plain right now.
Yeah. So, okay, y'all. I have a very interesting story. I was born in D.C. We're about to go through a journey, y'all.
Yeah, like it kind of connects. Like I realized, like in order to get to you, me and Mauricio, like and you being there now, it would go from you being there as a youth.
Yeah. So, I was born in D.C. Then I never tell people like I moved to Georgia before I moved to California, because it's like I've only stayed there for a year. Then I moved to Cali, this area. I went to, do you know the school Mitchell?
Is it in LA?
No, it's around here somewhere. I forgot where it's at. It's like near
maybe
the Vons.
Oh, St. Kenyon.
Yeah, so I went to Mitchell.
Okay.
Then I went to Golden Oak. I don't know if y'all remember that school.
I know where that's at.
Then I went to La Mesa and then Golden Valley. But like in the midst of that, my family and I, we lived here, but we would also like hop to like Reseda or like East LA or North Hollywood, Sherman Oaks, just because of like personal reasons, you know. But my mom, like she was very adamant in like having me stay in one place because I've moved so many times. She didn't want me to keep starting over. A lot of people don't know that about me because I just don't like, unless you like really get to know me, you'll know my story, you know, like if you're super close to me, you'll see. But as of right now, I just tell people, you know, I'm from D.C., come to Santa Clarita. People outside of California, I say I'm just from L.A. because I don't feel like explaining it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't feel like explaining all of that. But yeah, I feel like I'm from like both coasts, you know, East Coast and West Coast, D.C. and Cali.
How was it like the early times of being in the East Coast? Like I feel like that was like, we've talked about that with a couple of different people here, because like even our other friend Johnny you've had on the pod, his memory of that was very young too. Like I wonder how was that like for you being like young on the East Coast?
Young on the East Coast? Honestly, so I would always go back there during the summertime. Sick. And my grandma, she would always just get me into camps like cheerleading. I would also do like, it's weird, I would also do like modeling shows and like talent shows in the summer. Like she'll get me into like sports, violin. But yeah, I would just really just be chilling with my grandparents, and then also like my friends that I made in DC, and like the students that my grandma would teach too. So like I wasn't in the high school like student culture, but like I knew people in the streets.
In your community
yeah,
culture.
Exactly. Wow. In the community, yeah.
How old were you?
From what I remember, I mean like 5, like that's where our memory starts, right? Like
that's crazy though. I'm like, it's a wild time to like know a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been social, but also a little quiet. Like I'm, what do you call that? An omnivore?
I feel that it's like a Kendrick sentence sounds like I'm an antisocial extrovert.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I felt like I always related when he said that, because I get what he means by that. Where it's like I'm extroverted, but like I this in a way where it's like I don't want to talk to people all the time. Like everybody all the time. Like this, I don't know if that's realistic.
Yeah. I like keeping to myself, you know. I don't know if it's like a creative thing. You think that's an artist thing?
I think to some degree maybe it's like an outlet thing, because I think you need to recharge. So if it's like whatever you putting out, you probably gotta like sit in for a second, even if it's like, you know, you're grinding at like a different type of thing. Maybe it's like outside the creative field.
Yeah.
I feel like it may be hard though. Like, what if I'm like a really good like construction person? I don't know if I can take like 5 days off and be like back killing it, but I feel like still maybe like you could be refocused. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like everyone has some sense of like refocusing, like taking like a sabbatical or like some type of like focus, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm back now.
Yeah. What's so interesting about that, not to like get sidetracked or anything, but I realized like we move so fast in life. We move so fast. I don't think we're supposed to be like moving this fast with like digital media, school, working. Like, I really think we're supposed to have like that time where we can be present and be still. Because like when you're in like stillness, you'll start to recognize like everything that's going on around you. And I'm just saying that like not to get too deep, but there's a lot of freedom in stillness, you know? I guess you guys.
That's some shit though. No, it's true. Because it's like, I feel like we're like you're saying, the constant movement and everything going on. I feel like that blinds us to what's going on, and like the ability and thinking about it, like taking that step back to kind of just be still, if you say, or like savor it more. I feel like that really does kind of give that, in the sense like you were saying, like kind of like that break quality, but also I feel like beyond the break, I feel like you're saying it lets you live more in the moment, lets you kind of like
I get you
enjoy it.
Because even in like, say, like in COVID like time, I think I experienced some of that, you know, where it was just like a little bit more presentness was able to be had, because of like the world being slowed down.
And you also can't like in stillness, you can't run away from, I guess, like whatever battle you may be facing, you know?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, exactly. It's same thing with like in that time. It's like you, like, you know, you might have like that whatever thing is distracting you from thing you're going on, but like that moment makes you kind of just like lock in on it. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, okay, this is not going away. There's nothing else you can really do but think about this, you know?
And just reflect. I think that's honestly why I would delete my social media too, because I needed a moment to reflect and check myself. Like, who am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? Yeah, because I've never been like the type of person to try to please other people. And if I don't catch myself, like if I get in that routine of like always posting, like sticking to a specific posting schedule, I'm just like, okay, I don't want to turn into a robot with my creativity, you know? Like, I just want it to be natural. Like, we always get excited when, okay, I'm just going to use Rihanna, for example. People have been asking for her album for like years, right? I feel like in moments where you're not expecting an artist to drop and then they finally drop, you can just be so much more excited about it and appreciate it, because you're like, dang, time went by. Atlanta, for example.
Oh no, I'm excited right now. Like on the Dreamville, they're like a mixtape with DJ Drama, and they just put out like just like a clip of it, or it's just like, that's exciting.
That.
Where it's like, I didn't know that was coming, and now they're about to drop, like, it's like next week or something. Like,
yeah, I saw that. Okay. I'm excited about that.
But yeah, it goes to your point of like, is it more exciting when you're like, you know what I mean, when you get that, like, and everyone's like, oh, we want this person, and they all get that hype, is like all surrounded on it, or when like you didn't expect it, and like that's the idea of a surprise, like of excitement right there, like, you know what I mean, of living in the moment, like, you know what I mean, when you're not trying to plan what's gonna happen, and then it actually does happen, and you're just like, wow, like you get that pure reaction, like,
that is some shit. And I think I was thinking a lot about when you said earlier, like, do you think that artists in doing like, is it like an artist thing to want to close yourself off and do that? And I was thinking about it a lot, and I was like, it's a good ass question, because like, I mean, it's hard to tell because I don't know the full life story of like all these other artists and stuff like that, but I feel like in a lot of the examples that I've seen, a lot of them at some point in time tend to start, at least for if not for some period of time, like they kind of go and focus on their own thing, like focus, whether it be like in a place where they seclude themselves, or in a place where they just focus on a certain sound. Because like I was thinking about when stuff gets made, but then I also, that's what my initial thought was, right? But then I was also like, wait, there's also the second half where like it depends on what style of artist, I guess, because then there's also artists that are like, say, in a band, and you can't play your piece without the other band members. And so within that, like, there needs to be a certain sense of like, okay, well, maybe that group, you see them as like a singular thing, but then it's also like some people find inspiration with having like other shit around and like all these other influences. So I was like, maybe it is like a certain thing to wanting to like close yourself off in that moment, because I feel like that lets you like focus. But I wasn't sure if it was like all across the board. That was just me thinking out loud kind of with it. And then it made me kind of also think into like where you're saying like direction with what you want to do with it. Because then it's like when people get into these modes, and the art industry as a whole is an interesting, it's like that fine line of where doing what you want to do with your art and not wanting it to kind of lend itself to, because that's like where this is speaking from personal experience now. It's like where like I know how much like I value wanting to put out my own stuff and like wanting to like have like that full creative vision and not care too much about like how it's received on the opposite end of like the audience, and like whether it's like overlooked now, and whether, like you're saying, like it hurt at some point where it's just like, man, you put all this blood, sweat, and effort into this and it's getting overlooked. And then like those moments of like saying like, why do I care about that? Why is it that that's even a concern at the moment? It's like I was never really like, when we were making it, why that was going to be a concern. So like now that it's out, why is that a concern now that it's out? And so like within that, it's been that makes me think of like, okay, my personal thoughts towards it. But I also know, because I've met a lot of other artists who like have like a different mindset towards it, and I know that their mindset is more focused on wanting that kind of notoriety and wanting that kind of thing. And I was like, and the reason why I feel like this is kind of like long and drawn out with it is, where I was getting at is, lately I've been thinking a lot about like that, how far would art go if there wasn't an audience? And like it's hard, because I don't know if there wasn't an audience, and like that's also kind of like,
isn't that like determines the value of art in general? Like
exactly,
somebody wanting it and being like,
because that's
whoever like interprets it as valuable to them. Because
that's what I was gonna split it also, is that when you add that layer of money on top of art, then it's like that idea of like, what do you value it as, or what it's valued by others, and like, you know, like think if like, because I was genuinely thinking about like, what if everyone in the world did it for like the passion of art? It'd be fucking amazing. But at the same time, I was thinking about, I was like, I wonder what it would be. I wonder if people would pay as much attention to it sometimes. And like as a whole, like, and this is like a weird thing, because I think it's like a cycle, like it's like, or a loop, not a cycle. I think that sometimes there's things where it's like progress is made because society wants that progress to be made in a certain aspect, right? And so like I'm thinking this in like different artistic revolutions, different technologies introduced, like different methods and things going like that, and like them getting pushed forward was a large part of like the consumer aspect of people wanting to sell their art to other shit, and like people making money from it. And like I feel like that kind of aspect started to like really bleed in with the kind of like loss of art for yourself. But then I don't know, it was hard, because like basically what I think like what I'm trying to get at is like the difficulty in this is that we live in a world, like as humans we are like social creatures, and we live in a world where, because I don't know if I'm like a antisocial extrovert. I'd probably say like I'm a slightly extroverted introvert. Like I feel like I'm a person that's like really like kind of reserved, but I still really value like the social aspect and wanting to be around others. But I get like wanting to be on my own, but like as like a human, or as like a natural instinct, we want to like work as a team. We want to work as a community, you know? And so like sometimes that comes with like working off the reactions of others, because when you're working together in like a community aspect, like you're kind of succumb to reacting off of how other people go. And it's like with that, it's like then when we add in that aspect of like, all right, art and layer, like sharing your stuff with others, like if it's hard because like on one end, I feel like I keep like just like battling it back and forth, but the for me, where I'm saying like the difficulty lies in like wanting to kind of keep that building and like social aspect that comes with sharing your art, but like how the difficulty in that when you focus on wanting to like have your art be truly for yourself. You know what I mean? And it's some real shit because like I struggle. I'm genuinely, that's my like general like bout struggle, like especially these past few months. But it's been a lot of that within, and that's just, so I don't know what the answer lies with that, but that's how, like I was just kind of trying to think out loud with that, and there's some deep shit, some interesting shit, some very interesting shit. What's your guys' thoughts on it? What's your thoughts on like the mix of art with money and like how sharing it with others?
I don't know, bro. I feel like no, kind of like I wasn't thinking about that deep, so I don't really know, to be honest. I feel like I was thinking about it in the sense of like just the idea of like releasing on it. Like I feel like that battle, like the way you described the battle of it, that's the part where I'm describing. Like I don't know if there's that much of a battle where like my brain takes it to like, damn, like the idea of this versus the idea of this. Like it's kind of just like a strain, if you will. But there's not much of a thought out like battle in it, if you will. I feel like it's more so of a go if you flow, like what you all was talking about, where it's like I feel like a lot of this comes with it. Like it just comes with it. Like the idea of like that like feeling of like, but maybe that's a big part of like, hence like if you don't know, Mercy also don't like being on social media like that. So like hence maybe that's a big part of me being on social media.
Yeah.
I've kind of just like bartered past that point of like thinking about the feeling of it. Like it's not like I don't feel the strain, but it's almost just like there's a point in time of strain. I'm just like, oh, it has to come and then it has to go. Yeah. Because it's just like the idea of the feeling of it. It's just like you said, it's like that wormhole of like, where do you get out? Yeah. And it's just like, if it's no way, and then you feel that same way when you're on social media, where it's like, what am I doing this for? You know what I mean? So it's almost like if that's just the essence of this thing, and this is like a vessel to the main thing, I'm just like, well, either just like I'm off of it completely, or I'm just kind of not really thinking about that part about it when I'm in it, because I know that it's just like there's not really an answer within that part.
I can say for me, like it's okay, so where should I start with this? Me, like being an artist, like I literally have to create to live. When I don't create, honestly, just being very honest with y'all, like you'll probably get like a very pent up, like aggressive Jaidah, because it's like I'm not doing what makes me happy. And I know it's not like something that I learned to do. I know it's something that honestly I feel like God has given me to like create. And when it comes to like money and creativity, it's just like I'm still trying to navigate it, because like this is me, you know? So like when I see people like, oh, I'm gonna give you this much to create this for me, I'm just like, is this how much I'm worth? Like you have to like know, like for me, I'm trying to separate like, I know my art is valuable and I can't let this price tag determine my creativity or how I work, you know? It's really hard. I'm still navigating that, honestly, because like I said, I have to create to literally live. Like everything I post, it has to be some type of artistic creativity.
I think that's like a big part, at least for me and my navigation, that makes it a little difficult, is that I feel like, because that's like square one. So with that being square one, for me, it's almost like sometimes like then you start to think like in order to make it something else, you have to do these other things, but then you sometimes almost like get the fear of not necessarily like checking square one all the way. Yeah. And I feel like that's like where it lies almost, is like I feel like that's what leads you. Yeah. For some people, like that calling, the idea that, well, this is the calling, like if I do this, this is what's gonna then keep things going. And sometimes I feel like the other factors help me doubt that, if you will. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like just trying to put metrics on it, I feel like they help me doubt the fact that this was something that was like kind of like given or destined, like that you like meant to do.
Yeah.
Because then it adds like a factor in it where it's like, well, you could be doing it, but like, is this what you were meant to do?
Like, okay, so I think like right now I'm at a place where, and this kind of goes back to like my journey of like creating and not creating, being in front of people and not being in front of people. You were talking about like the calling, when you know, like, at least for me, like with creativity, yours, music, you know what I mean? Like when you know what your calling is, it's like, you gotta step into it, because I've done myself a disservice probably for the last like 5 years of like that fear getting in the way of like, dang, like what if I'm an artist that can't survive off of like making content? What if like the opinions and, you know, the perspectives of my art really get to me? Like that fear was really getting in the way those past like 5 years, and like now I'm just like, yo, let's just do it, because it's either now or never. Like this is my livelihood. If I don't go, I'm gonna be very sad. Like I'll be very sad. So like I'm just in this place where it's like, okay, look, I'm gonna need money to survive. You know, you still gotta pay bills, you still gotta get some food, you still gotta get like necessities for yourself. But now I'm just like, look, if you're gonna pay me for it, cool. But I still believe that there's something in this journey, and I can't go back to how I used to live. It's like there's something here, and I have to figure. It's like finding like treasure.
Yeah.
You're just like, yo, I gotta keep going, even though it looks crazy to other people, even though Jaidah's been on and off of social media creating for 5 years. It's like, whatever, like I'm just gonna have to go for it, because if I don't go for it, then who will, you know? Like,
and that's real, because that's the idea right there, that like, you know, a lot of people talk about, it's like the marathon, you know, like it doesn't stop. Like I feel like that's one of the realest like analogies anyone's ever made, because it's like life really does play out like that, like for all the realer stories out there. Like it's not like a you know what I mean, like a sprint to the thing. It's like, all right, then this happened, and like sometimes like, and a lot of times, you know what I mean, it's really like I feel like you've kind of been the person, like if you look at life as like a marathon, you've been someone that I've seen like in the little race
running,
like really like moving around there, like where I'm like, damn, like they're still like there, like damn, they're still rocking, like
yo, blood, sweat, and tears. Like I'm telling you, okay, I'm gonna share this testimony with y'all, because this is where it was really like, it was real life for me. And this is something I'm still kind of processing, and it's probably like the first like public space like I'm actually talking about this on, besides like my very close friends. But last December I had this incident where, you know, I was almost not here anymore. And it was like I was at this point where I'm like, am I about, this is about to get very like sad, you know, but it's going to be great after. It was like, I was at this point where I'm like, am I about to die right now? And I was just like, what did I have to show for it? And in that moment, it was just like this fire just like burned inside of me. And it's not me, like, you know me, I'm a woman of faith, right? Like I believe that everything comes from God. Like it's not me doing it, it's like his spirit inside of me. And I believe like things have been trying to keep me quiet, keep me shy from like this talent that God put inside of me. And I'm just like, in that moment I was just like, dang, I didn't do anything. I really allowed like fear to take over. And in that moment I was just like, yo, I don't care if I have $5 in my bank account or $100 in my bank account. I'm just gonna have to keep creating, because this is like my purpose. This is what causes me to breathe. Like if I don't do it, I feel like I'm suffocating, you know? So, but like that moment in December, like it really woke me up to, one, like loving people around me, and also like serving people with my art. And I really hope to bring something like in my art where people can like ask questions about like their heart, for them to self-reflect about life, see the beauty in life, because I'm very detail oriented. Like when I was just talking to you before the podcast, I saw like the pink flowers and your pink hair. I was like, wow, that's so artistic.
I know, yeah, like you already in like the mode of like
Yeah.
color palettes. You're like this one and this one.
Like it's just this thing, like I was just telling him when we were like coming down here, I was like, yo, like all the memories of high school's like coming back. I'm like seeing like flashbacks and stuff.
That
you
shit
know?
is crazy. It is kind of wild to think like when you go somewhere and you just haven't been there in forever.
Yeah.
I feel like we were talking about that a lot, like on the way, like how like at least like I've moved and like I've had some of those experiences, like especially in here being one of those experiences of being like kind of like an in between feeling of just like where you remember some of the stuff, but you remember your childhood, and you don't remember your childhood here, but you remember it here, and you're just like, wow, like there was this like those handful of like memories that you just kind of like blends past.
Yeah.
And they kind of play into your journey, really, like if you will. Like I know like at those times you were still kind of like trying to pursue film and like, you know, skits and film. Like even then, like you were already kind of on your path. And I feel like at what point in time did you went to Howard first? I was at what point in time did you go to DC?
Did you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, I forgot you said that too. And also, I mean, thank you for also sharing that experience, like that you know explained yourself, because I feel like a lot of times in life, like we said, like we really depict it as like a marathon, you know what I'm saying? And I think that was one of the great like moments, and like you say, and being a marathon, like the ups and the downs, if you will.
Yo,
like, you know?
it's about to be turned into a movie. Y'all about to see this thing, because I wasn't there.
I want to be like at the Emmys, like, yo, like this really happened, like
like based off of true events. Like, you got me here, you know. But yeah, with Howard is such a beautiful journey. It's been a love-hate relationship, because there's this thing that Howard students say. They're like, you have to finesse your way through Howard, because like it's always just like this battle to like get your classes, get financial aid. I'm sure everybody saw the news about the dormitories and stuff. Like I was wearing a Howard shirt at the airport. They're like, oh, I heard about what's going on at your school. I said, what's going on at school?
It's crazy.
It's crazy. But Howard, yeah, like I'm supposed to be finishing this upcoming year by the grace of God, and it's been a journey since 2015. Went there for 2 years, left, came back out here, was doing art shows, you know, and then I moved back.
Got to go to one of those art shows. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Which one? The first one?
It was the Prism one.
Yeah. Was it Y2K or was it
It was the one where Andrew was at with the painting.
Oh yeah, I think that was our first one ever.
Yeah, that was the I think
that was a time. That was a moment.
Because then I remember like you did some other ones and you had like some
Valentine's
really cool performances
Yeah.
too. But that was like that one.
Shout out to the homies, yeah.
But
Kira and Noye.
I remember for sure, like at that time, like you doing that was big, because it was just like seeing it, you know what I mean? Like it was just seeing like I had the idea of doing that, but I hadn't really had like the means yet to throw like any events. And I seen little people that had, but yours was really cool. I feel like it was on the tip of like your taste, like you know, your taste was really like shown in it, and I feel like that was a cool thing. Like
you're talking about the first one, the first
the first one.
Did you go to?
I didn't get to go to the other one, so you feel like later on, I remember you got more in your bag. Like
that one was lit. I'm not gonna lie, it was not from this world, and not from this world is coming back. I'm just laying down the foundation right now, so it can actually like withstand. But yeah, that art show was fun. Like it was a moment in time. That was great.
Talk about that, like throwing events in general. But like, I mean, like, or Howard, like, is that something you did when you were at Howard, or you did it after, like, when you left?
I think I've always, so one thing about me, like, I like pulling things together. I'm very, like I said, I'm very detail oriented, and I like to bring whatever's in my mind into fruition, like, in front of me. So at least for, like, Not From This World, like, I feel like I'm an innovator, you know. I like to try new things. And when I like see people, I can see like their potential. Like, so you guys, I see something in you guys. Like this right here, you have something right here. Like seriously, because
I really appreciate that, because I feel like what you're talking about is like that's what makes me feel like anytime I feel like I can do anything is that feeling of like seeing it in other people.
Exactly, and
you know
we're all supposed to like keep encouraging each other. And one thing that, and this is just like a little side note, little piece of wisdom that our good sis Issa Rae said, she's like, don't try to work up, like work around, you know, work around with your peers, because like those are the people that you're going to really need support from, you know what I mean? You can build something together. But anyway, back to planning events. I don't know, it's just always been fun. Like DC, okay, that's where I got inspired from. DC culture, there was this time from 2015 to 2017 where there was art shows every week, just local artists performing, and it was just such a fun time. Like just seeing DJs come together, people have like art on the wall, rappers, singers.
I feel like at this time, I think this is maybe around the time when you sent me that playlist, because I feel like I remember you talking about your friend doing events out there too.
Yeah, that's okay. And I think that was probably like 2019 now, because I went back to DC to visit my cousins and stuff, and then I went to his show, which is called Would You Vibe With Me, if you want to follow him.
That's what I'm saying. I think I remember that was the same time.
Yeah, it was just, it's such a vibe, because it's like the shows out there are so authentic. They're not trying to put on the show for other people. They're really putting on the show for each other, you know, like really vibing with each other. It's like one big party. And I've always just admired seeing my friends like DJ and pull their dreams into reality too. Like, that's my inspiration for real. That's where it came from, DC for sure.
That makes sense, because I was at your events. I've always saw that it was like you got really dope DJs to come, and I think you got him to come, or you got other artists to like come to your event. So I saw that was like, you know, coming a part of you being like, this is what you already was into, like your friends and what they do, and you're like, nah, I want to showcase this. And I feel like that's something so we really resonate with. Like I'm like really inspiring us to be on some like getting a chance to kind of like showcase other people's art and what they got going, because I feel like the connectedness of it all is what really is crazy. Like people don't understand, like like we literally like knew each other since school, like prom.
Wesley was my prom day.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't really think about that in life.
Prom, it was amazing. It was a great time. We should. I don't know if you could put the picture in somewhere, but
it was dope.
It's on Facebook. I'll be looking. I'll be like, dang, I really went to a prom with Wesley. Yeah, it was fun though.
But I feel like that's the real like vine tree right there, where you really don't like understand the connections in life, and you just see them all like kind of play out in the way that they do, and you're just like, wow, like everybody like does these individual things, and you know them for these like different reasons and stuff like that. Like say, I mean, even in that time, I feel like, did you know that you would be moving back to South Central? Like, did you
okay, well, first,
like, did you have any inclination that would happen, or were you like, were you there having like the time of your life, like you were like, nah, like I'm gonna stay here forever, or did you feel like
when I moved back,
or was it like anything leading you up to being like, damn, like I might move back, like
to South Central,
or to just like back to
that area? DC? Oh wait, okay,
out of DC.
So when I left Howard 2017, I was just very sad. Like I said, I always asked the question of like, who am I doing this for? Like, am I doing school for for me or for other people? And I was very transparent with my family. I was like, yo, I don't think, like, if I stay here another year, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like, that's how sad I was. So then I moved back to California. This is actually in like I did like a voyage, like LA type of thing when I was out here. I
remember that.
I had only $1,000 in my pocket, and my boyfriend at the time, I was like staying with him, and I had to like find a place before he left, because he just had an internship out here. And literally, I found like a place in like 3 days. I found a job. I kept going to the Starbucks on 28th and Figueroa. I was like, yo, I need a job, and I kept coming back. They hired me after 3 days, and like that's where like the grind really started. Of course, it was like very rocky. Like LA is really expensive for no reason. But yeah, that's where the journey started. I really fell in love with South Central. I think I've always been like a city person. So like I've just been taking trains. I've just, you know what I mean? Like I like exploring. I like going to new places. That's always been, I feel like, in my DNA, from just like moving from place to place. So yeah, South Central is lit. I like that. I like that area. I didn't know I was gonna move there. It was new to me.
So it seems like you maybe had like a lot of stuff going on in DC while you were there before you went. Because I mentioned it, you were kind
Yeah.
of almost like, dang, like, it almost seemed like the time jumped in your head if you were just like, man, a lot of time passed, like, from before you moved.
Yeah. Like, okay, you're talking about like when I
When
moved.
you were at Howard, like, before you left, you were like, it almost seemed like you were like, wow, like that time, and you look like it was just like, like did a lot. Did it feel
Time
fast?
is just a man-made construct.
Did it feel fast, or did it feel like slow, like from going there as 2015 and then leaving like 2017?
Oh man.
That's a good question for you too. I want to know for you too, because I know, when did you leave school? I know you went there 2015.
You went to New York, huh?
I did.
And when did you leave?
Yeah, I remember that. I thought you were
2016?
so cool. I was like, oh, Sam, you going to New York?
It was fun. I love New York. I
Did you
love
leave 2016 or 17? No.
26. Right.
It's a long time ago. We getting old,
It would be
y'all.
crazy if y'all left like the same time. Like,
I think I left in 16.
16
Okay.
to a year before me.
I think.
That time went by fast.
it felt fast though.
Hello? How did we even get here? How did we even get here? Are you 25 now?
Yeah, I just
We
turned
get-
25. We did it.
Oh my gosh, we're getting y'all. Yeah, time went by really fast with that. Howard was fun though. The 2 years I was there, it was cool. But I was more so like in the city, you know, like I was just in the city. I wasn't like, I was in Howard culture, but like I was out on the weekend
I
going
feel
to
like
art
those
shows,
2 years went by
you
really
know?
fast for me. I went to CSUN at that time, which is crazy because now, you know, like I work nearby there, and I'm just like, I just think about that, like, wow, like that time does feel like so like
Yeah.
it flew by. Like I was just like, I don't know what I was on then.
I
Yo,
feel you.
what was I on?
But I was low key like, I still wanted to make music then, and I still had like, you know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
ideas of like my journey. I made like Sunshine Reality EP, which I feel like I enjoyed parts of it, but definitely looking back at the time, it was like I felt like I should have took that recharge. You know what I mean? Like that what we were talking about, like that little sabbatical, like that break, like because I was just doing school and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and like I think eventually if I would have just kind of focused on that, then I would have been like, all right, it's time to make music. But like that was kind of colluding my art, like at the time. You know what I mean? Like the idea of not really knowing what I wanted to do. But like I was only like 18, 19. And then like when I turned like 20, like 21 at the time, then I went to like COC, and then like that's when I met Mauricio.
20 seems like so long ago.
Yeah, like that was like around the time I met Mauricio, like 21. Like, you know, like it was just like,
Aw.
I was like, because I only went there until like, I had to be maybe like 22 then.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the year 21.
No, I mean, like, I was 21, 22. Because I went to CSUN for, like, you know, 2 to 3 years. I was, like, 18, 19, 20. And then I went to COC.
Nice.
But, yeah, that time did fly by. I feel like it's crazy because you guys did so much in that time. I feel like I mostly, like, I did a lot of, like just musical random stuff. But, like, I don't think I did, like, I didn't, like, go to the East Coast at all, or, like, Santa Barbara.
He's trying to go
like,
to the East Coast. He want to go to the East Coast.
I want to
He's
go
ready.
now.
He's ready, he's ready.
Yeah, go during maybe like spring, summer, fall, winter.
definitely
Y'all
go
not
in
about to
fall.
catch me out there during the winter. I know you were cold in the months of like March. I went up there. I was like, oh, it's spring break. It was like what, 4 degrees?
It's cold up there.
I was like, no, I'm not going back. I'm not going back.
My first taste of winter there, I had to leave early. So I came back to California for a little bit, and I had to leave early because there was a snowstorm that was coming in. And so I was like, damn, okay, I guess. Guess I'm gonna have to take my flight like a day or two early.
Yeah.
So I'm like, my mom literally calls me, so I'm like, oh, all right, whatever. I'm leaving today, I guess. So I go, get on the plane. The second we arrive in New York and they open the plane door and that cold air just comes in, sick. I was like, I was not ready or expecting this.
You literally got sick?
No.
Bro, it was actually rough. That like I got
That's
sick instantly.
crazy. I
had
never
to-
heard of that. like an instant, like,
Bro, it was like
That's
some
why
shit.
East Coast people are angry because it's so cold. Like, don't talk to me.
like it's not like, yeah, it's not much like just chill vibe. It's like, it's just like, man, that light's nice out
No.
today. Like you're just like, no, let's get inside.
Yeah, that was rough.
Have you ever seen those videos where like they're living in New York and someone like throws a brick at someone? They're like, dang, it's brick outside. Like it's really like the cold will literally hit you like that, like a brick hitting you.
Yeah, no, I've definitely seen like, it's like my friend sent me a video of like someone like in the morning, like they were going out their window, like in the little like what do you call those, like the fire escapes, and they were like everyone's yelling like yo shut up because people are honking, and they're like it's 5 a.m. like it's 6 a.m. and they're like, and someone took a TikTok of just them because they're new here, like you know what I mean, and they're just like, and it's like the wife like yelling, she's like ding ding like just hitting something. And then it's my friend said to me, he's like, that's gonna be you and Mari. 5 a.m. like telling people like it's 5 a.m. like,
Dang.
Bro, literally where I was staying at, next door they were doing construction on a building the entire time I lived there. And so like every day there was construction going on, and I was like,
Wait.
like,
you get like you try to just go to sleep every day.
Wait, my friend that's from New York, she said that she would listen to like street cars or like noises on the street for her to go to bed. I said, you are really from New York.
No, but
it's like it's a little too quiet.
that's what I mean. Like that is gonna literally be how it's gonna be like where you can't have like no regular. I'm enjoying all the peace and quiet I get now. Where it's just like it's nothing like.
No. But wait, let's really talk about it, because when I lived in South Central, there will always be like fire trucks like every 5 minutes, to the point where I would get triggered if I heard one. I was like, no, I can't do this right now. Like moving to the East Coast, I was like, no, I'm back in South Central. It was just always helicopters, fire trucks, police officers. It was just a lot of noise going on down there.
I mean, like they happen to like wild out with that a little much. I feel like there's definitely like a lot of like fire trucks and like. But also just because like where I live is like a corner where like everything is like a dead end.
Yeah.
So like there's like a mass amount of people in one area, so it's just kind of like, and the train. We've talked about that in our part.
Train.
We live right next to the train, so that's more so our thing is like sometimes you just get a solid while you're trying to sleep. But yeah, in the East Coast, man, did you like taking the train and stuff out there? Like, how's it in DC getting around? I've never heard too much about like how is it like? Is it like how here where you need a drive to get places, or is it like in New York where it's like it's obsolete to have a whip?
I feel like DC's in the middle of like New York and Cali.
Okay.
Like you can take a bus like DC's probably like what 35-minute drive like across. Like you can get through the whole city in like 35 minutes.
So it's clutch to have a car because it's like you really don't gotta go nowhere too far anyways. Like,
or you can just take the metro too, like, or the bus to the metro.
Or you could walk probably.
Walk,
it's like,
you know what I'm saying?
If somewhere's not that far.
Yeah.
Is it hilly? It's not hilly.
Is it hilly? No, not really.
I feel like that's my biggest thing on walking. Like if I'm walking anywhere, like it would just be like a straight path.
Yeah, it's not really hilly. No.
This is a real question, because I feel like I've never seen much of DC past like the photos of
the monuments
and stuff, like a lot of like government buildings. Is that really what it is, or is there more to like the city?
I was just talking to my friend about this today. I was like, there's so much more to DC than the monuments, and I think like for like TV shows and stuff, they only go there because it's like political shows, but there's so much culture in DC. My grandma, my grandpa, like they always be like, it was Chocolate City before all these people moved in, da da da. Like there's this like one street called U Street. Like there would be a lot of historical like black owned businesses and stuff. Like for me, I would love to come back out here and like make films, but I really want to highlight like places in DC that people don't really see.
Can you make a film about go-go music so I can understand it?
Yo, honestly, like, look, if my mama watched this, she'd be like, you don't know nothing about go-go music. People would be like, it just sounds like pots and pans being smashed together.
I was trying to explain this to Mauricio one time, and it was like difficult because I'm like, I don't really know how to explain it. Like, I'm not the guy.
I'm not going to even do DC like that. I'm not into go-go like that. Like I can listen to it like when they have a little remix and stuff. When you go to the city, there's always like this one corner.
But that's something I could see like in a movie being like depicted, where like I wouldn't know about it unless you're from there, and like I feel like you would know because you've been there.
Look, I'm gonna have to interview my friends that was born and raised out there, because they're gonna know way more things about it than me. But like I was never in the go-go like that. I feel like that was more so like my mom's era. Like whenever they went to the club, go-go music would be playing.
You gotta tap in with her.
Lord, that's like crazy. That go-go music is crazy. Like I'm trying to figure out like a comparison. I can't think of one right now.
That's true. I mean, I know what you mean. Like, I've only seen videos of it. I feel like I heard of like the group, whatever. What's her name? Backyard. I've heard like a band, right? And like
You
I've
know
seen
more than
videos
me.
of like a band, like and like the ideas of it and like the drum and bass within it. But like I mean, also I've seen like I've seen so much that like on different sides of it, I'm like, what even is this? Where I've heard people like Pharrell, like artists like that talk about how like say like how they was into like moshing and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Like back in the days, and that was also what was popping at the same time. And I'm just
go.
so I feel like the energy in music to me is what's interesting.
Yeah.
Like the way like certain energies are connected in different music, and like they kind of like
And culturally too.
Yeah.
Like different areas. Yeah.
Exactly. I think DC has their music has a certain energy, like as a thread. You know what I'm saying? And it's like high like energy. Like I feel like you want to dance, but it's also like loud, but not like annoying loud. Like you know what I'm saying? Like just like it has a lot of bass.
Wants to keep you moving.
Yeah, I feel like in my mom's era it was like go-go, but like the era that I'm like
now
really
there's
into,
like they have
like
a new
house,
sound.
It's like house dance music. Like that's what I like.
And that's what's on that playlist that you sent me. That it's like, and I'm really into that, so that's why I went crazy. I like house music.
Too.
I like house music a lot. I think that's something it's like the samples, right? Like the souls, like the soul samples, and like the difference the way they use them, and like the disco even too. It's like it's like my dad listens to that type of stuff, and like hearing it in that way, like you said, it's like my style, almost like repurposed. But then house is old too, like it's from Chicago and like Detroit. But it's interesting for me because my dad, like he wasn't really into, like my parents, they were into like dance. Like my dad was into disco, but I was into that, and then and hearing those musics flipped in it, I don't know, it just does something to like your spirit. Like it feels good.
Yes, I just love some house music. I like when someone like takes like a nice like old R&B like song and then just flip it into house. Like yeah, that's dope. That's dope.
I'm glad you're into that, because I mean we've talked about EDM and house and stuff like that on this podcast, but then even when we did talk about that was something that like a lot of the people were like, I don't really know too much about that. Like they weren't into that per se. Yeah. And I was like, that's something I guess maybe from the outside in, I'm more into per se, like that style of it. Like I feel like that's something new. Like I like how you mentioned that something new. Like we kind of use these old nostalgic memories of like our favorite jams, and then we hear them like in like those versions, like you said, all slowed down, and it just is like
it's different.
It like hits for us. It's like this is the way I remembered it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like maybe the closest thing to house that people may know from like the East Coast is like Goldlink. You know what I mean? Do y'all listen to Goldlink?
Yeah, exactly. Or like he's even had like songs where like he does samples of like the other music, and I'm like, I feel like that's the only time I maybe want to look up like Go and like Backyard Band and stuff like that, because I was like got into him and he would talk about that stuff. I think that's how he ended up talking about it, like him mentioning it in like some songs and stuff, and then me being like, oh, this is this, and then you were like, oh, what's that? And then I was like, I think this is what this is.
Yeah, the first song that I ever loved by Goldlink was like "Dance on Me." He's like, "Dance on me, dance on me, dance on me, dance to the party, nobody." That was my favorite. I was like, "Ooh, wait a minute!" Like that right there. Like I was never into moshing, but like dancing to house was definitely for me.
It's hard.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Damn. So throughout this time, were you already into like film, film, or was that like a more so when you went to like this South Central thing?
Whew, wow. I think like when I was into film like from in 2017, but like when I came back out to Cali, that's where my love for music like really grew, because like I said, I was exposed to all the shows out in DC. I was like, dang, like there's so much talent out here. And then I started just listening to like a lot of mixes, you know, my friends like sending me mixes, listening to their mixes. I was just like really indulged in just music. Film wise, you know, like I have like little spoken words here and there about like my feelings and stuff, and I'll like make little short films about that, but like I wasn't taking it as seriously as I am now. So yeah, back then I was just music and shows and entertainment experiences.
Like a random question.
Okay.
But
is it from Maurice?
Nah, it was cute. I want to know maybe like something I know now. Like obviously you're very upfront about how like God has like played a role in like your life and your path now, and I'm curious to know how like it played a role in your path then. Like, was you like on your Kanye? You seen Kanye's documentary?
Yeah,
like was you on your Kanye doc? Like,
I wish
like
I was
mention
on my
it.
Kanye stuff.
I feel like you could kind of be like one of those where it was
I
like
feel like
that.
that's where
like,
I'm at now. It's like I gotta go get it.
You know, but was it like that though, where it was like something that was like? Do you feel like he was like kind of like a guiding force in your life all along?
I love talking about the Lord. So I knew that it was always something like leading me, but it wasn't until, I've had a lot of like close death experiences. And I don't really talk about that, but like there was this one moment where I was walking back home from my job. It was like 1 a.m. I usually used to walk home, like I was like 7 minutes away, and someone like followed me. And I guess there was this thing going on in South Central where people would follow somebody and like shoot them with like a paintball gun. But you see, like I have big old glasses. Like when I take my glasses off, I don't see anything. So like I turned and like he had like shot at me and I thought I was about to die. And like that moment right there, it was like a really like pivotal moment for me, because like I knew of God, but I didn't know like where should I go? And like one thing that really inspired me, my grandpa, he was also like diagnosed with cancer, and like those two things were like very heavy on me in that moment. And one thing that really got me into my faith was when like my grandpa was like reading the Bible, and like my grandpa was like my father figure, so like once I like saw him like just pass on, I was just like, dang, like he was really in his word. And that's when I opened up the word as well. And like I know like people get kind of afraid of like the Bible and stuff. It's just like, that's the white man's religion. I'd be like, okay, whatever. But for me, like the way I was introduced to God, it wasn't through religion, because I didn't grow up in the church. I've always been like, I feel like I've had this intimacy with God, but like I said, I didn't know who he was. But
that's what I meant though. Like on the tip of like, I could see you being like, I feel like in that doc they showed kind of having like this intimacy with God. You know what I'm saying? Like where it was like random moments of him just being like, well, if this isn't God's plan, like this is gonna happen. Like
and that's how I feel about it, because it's like God is always like pursuing his children. Like, and there was a moment where I was so low and I was like watching sermons. I don't know if people like watch Mike Todd and stuff, but like I was watching sermons and I felt this like overwhelming amount of like peace. And I was just like, okay, this, like, not to be controversial, but I do believe in Jesus Christ. I do believe that he rose. But yeah, I just felt this overwhelming peace, and it brought me to tears. Like it wasn't something that I could explain. It was truly a peace that transcends understanding. And from there, I just started my walk. And like, as I keep walking, I fall down. I may say some overly righteous things. I may not be like, a believer to some people who believe in God. But like, at the end of the day, I'm back at this place where I do have that intimacy with him. And that's the fire that's like fueling me to just keep walking, because God didn't leave me back then. God's not going to leave me here now. You know what I mean? Like, that's how strong my faith is. Because I've been at very low points before where nobody else was around and it was only me and God. Even that moment in December is just like, you kind of face like eternity, and you're just like, okay, what is my purpose here on life? And my purpose is to serve other people through art. My purpose is for people to see like the image of God, like in like creativity. Like you see the plants, I see Maurice, I see Wesley, like we're all like creations from God, you know what I mean? So like living in this moment, I'm just like, yo, God has really just played a huge part in my life. Like even before I knew him, like I knew him, you know what I mean? Like back in even high school too, I didn't go to church. My family didn't grow me like up in the church. I wasn't like, oh, let's put your Sunday clothes on and let's go. I was never like that. So like, I think that's why my relationship with God is just so interesting, because it's like I don't even have those boundaries of like religion over me, because I've never been introduced to religion that way. It was always relationship with God, so yeah, God is
that's interesting for me. I feel like I feel like I've been just introduced to like a lot of different ways, so I feel like maybe that kind of helped shape my perspective on it. Like growing up, like even like to the beginning, like where like I went to like Catholic church, you know what I mean, as like a little kid, and I feel like at that time I was very like not into it because I was just young, so I just would like fall asleep. But then like later on, experiencing on like the different sense of like then I had went to like what do you call those churches, like my mom wanted me to get more into church, so then I went to like where they have like a youth program, like a white church, you know what I mean, where it's like, and then they also had like a youth program and like stuff like that. But it was in Lancaster also, so it was more also part of the time too of being like, kind of, my mom wanted me to be like away from me being away from just like, I guess, what I had like known originally, and then just kind of also just getting into whatever I was getting into out there as a kid, and my mom being like, nah, like you don't really care about, like you said, we don't go every Sunday no more. So it's just almost like that was like her move of me like, all right, well, now I want you to like, and then for a sense, I feel you like that was like a very pivotal time for me. I feel like I remember meeting like really cool friends and stuff, because it was like people that were like my age and like some teenagers or like youth in middle school, but they were like, I don't know, like we were like able to like group up on that sense, you know what I mean, like about that. And then it made like deeper talks than I would have with other regular and thoughts, even like, you know what I'm saying, that I would have with other regular like kids, because it was just like we'd be meeting under that pretense, and then I think after then it was kind of what you said, just more so like a personal thing after that. Like as I got older, it became just like a personal like thing. But I feel like since like I ran into those times before, I had those instances of it before then. But it's interesting for you, I feel like how that's so potent into like not the way you feel about it now, and being like it shaped it,
Yeah. Maurice, you have anything to say? I was just watching you over there.
Thinking. It made me think a lot of. It made me reminisce on like my life and like my process with religion, or like my journey through it. And I feel like it started off very similarly to Wesley, where I went to, like, as a kid, I was going, like, my parents really wanted me to be, like, involved in, like, in religious aspects as best possible. And, like, my mom had me go to, like, a private school, so I went to, like, Catholic school for...
No, yeah, I left a side note out. Did you ever do the program with it, like the Sunday school? I didn't get to do it. I was about to, and I didn't get to actually, like, join the program.
I didn't do the Sunday program because they did like religion classes in the like as part of like our daily curriculum, so I didn't have to.
That would have been interesting. Imagine if we would have, like, the people we would have been. I feel like we low-key would have been different cats.
Yeah.
Different cats.
Because I was like at the brink of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had went just enough to where like they thought about signing me up. Like I had been to some other communions and stuff like that. And like, I don't know, I think it was sports, like something to do with like sports or extracurriculars, that it was just like, they were like, nah, you should just do something else.
Yeah, for my parents, they've always been very, or at least my mom especially, like, and like my grandma, they've been very, like, religious growing up, like, that's my entire lifetime. So it's like, they were definitely like instilling a lot of those values early. And I feel like you were saying, like, I think part of growing up with it, I didn't get to see it from a different light. So like part of growing up, I was like, okay, this is cool, but I'm just getting tired of being forced to go like every Friday, because we would go to mass on Fridays, and then also sometimes I would go to like mass on Sundays with my mom and my grandma, and like, so I'm like, man, I'm doing this a lot. Like and it was at this time where like there was just a lot of changes, you're growing up as a kid, you don't know what you want to do, and like, so I just kind of, but I didn't think too much about it, but I just knew I just wasn't like enthralled by it at the moment.
Yeah.
And then as I grew up, like I feel like maybe part of like a retaliative sense of like having grown up in that, like I wanted to distance myself from it. And so when I went into like middle school and high school, I was like kind of just like starting to kind of like kick back. Like I would go to things when I had to with my parents, but like I started to like show a little bit more remorse, I guess, in wanting to go or not wanting to go. And I feel like when it came to college time, I didn't really know what to think or what to believe. Like I feel like it actually, like, when you described moments in like your life when you had really low point, or like really intense moments when you thought you were gonna die, and like you were in those moments, like it made you think of something else, right? It made you realize something else. And like within that, I feel like I mean I don't want to like confound these two, but I know that like introducing this aspect to it is like some shit, because there's like so many religions are even based off of this thing. But like I had one time where I had taken psychedelics, and like I had just like a lot going on mentally, and like that combined with something that was going on, like I felt I had like a lot going on where I thought I was gonna die, and I was happy to die like at the moment, and I was like, but that made me think a lot. And like even like the day after that, when like thankfully things didn't, you know, go out that way, but like it really made me reflect and think more about like life and like purpose in it. Because like even during the psychedelic trip, like you just feel like I'm going and I'm seeing all these things and thinking of things in a whole bunch of different ways. And like my issue with religion, and I feel like this has always been like my disconnect with God, is I realize is like I never really subscribed to, after seeing some of the traditions that are built into religion, I feel like I got too attached to the idea of that and not too much to the idea of relationship, like just having a relationship with God. And I feel like that idea of trying to follow certain rules or for certain things so that other people can deem that I'm doing what I'm supposed to have a relationship with God, like that really burned me, and like that I hated that. And like I feel like that had me like thinking a lot on that moment, and kind of like reflecting on what it is in all of that, like how much is it that I wanted to, because I didn't know, I mean I feel like I still don't know answers and shit as to like what is out there, but I do feel like there is a higher power and something that calls me. And I feel like I don't know what religion I would classify it as, but I feel like it's become like a little mix of like a bunch of little things here and there, because I feel like I don't know if any one religion that's out there right now, in my opinion, has it like 100% correct, but I feel like everyone's got like a little piece of it right. I feel like there's just like a bunch of puzzle pieces as to like what the answer may be out there. And so like I feel like my relationship with God and, you know, that whole aspect has been something that's like transitional. Like I said, definitely like now where I am with it is that I've come to terms where I feel like there definitely has to be a higher power, and and on a weird, I've always believed in fate, or not, I'm not gonna say always, but I've had a very like reaffirmed like belief in fate these past few years, and that like life is just supposed to happen the way it is supposed to happen. And within that concept, who determines how life is supposed to happen? And if that's the case, God. So like within that, like I do believe that there is a higher power out there, and I do believe that he's like, or she like has, or it like has set a path for me in a certain aspect, and like I'm just kind of going down that path. And yeah, that's just that my very long-winded journey of my
religion can definitely put people in more bondage than freedom, and that can make people run away from just even the relationship with God. You know, I can definitely say, and this is like me like really speaking in humility and just being humble, like I was on fire for God, and like I didn't grow up in church, like I said. Like, you know, my grandma took me probably like at 5, but like after that there was no structure in that. And as I was walking, you know, I started listening to like different teachings and how people say like you're supposed to be, what experiences you're supposed to have. And I found myself like falling into like a religious path, like, and also like self-righteousness. And I didn't like that, because that very thing turned people away from seeking a genuine relationship with God. So like one thing that I promised to myself this year is like, Jaidah, you have to be a reflection of God. You know, you can't be the person that turns people away from seeking a relationship, because that's very damaging, you know, because God, like, I just smile when I think about God. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, like everything that I do, I feel
like I was just talking about that with someone recently, like the idea of being like godly or like godlike. Like,
yeah.
I don't remember if it was a pod or if it was just with you, but I feel like I felt like when whenever I was able to like kind of lock more in on that idea, getting on the idea of like your personal relationship with God, I feel like that was something that I did when I was in those moments of like, kind of like those just like I didn't know if I was going to get through moments. It really was that like, I don't know, like that idea of like, kind of like what you know, locking in on like your personal relationship with God. Like,
yeah, the big mistake that I definitely did was like, definitely like over vocalizing like everything that, you know, I may have like between God and I, you know, that's definitely a mistake. But I mean, we're all walking, we're all learning, and like those mistakes don't define us. That was yesterday. Today's a new day. We're going to keep learning. If one person says that they're perfect on this earth, they're a liar. You know what I mean? We're all trying to figure it out. And I heard this this young lady say that she's like, at your lowest moments, you know, that's where, you know, you can actually see who God really is. You can actually meet God in that moment, because a lot of times, like, and this is just my personal life, you know, just when I was just like walking, you know, just my everyday life, like the thought of just I'm in control of my life and I have everything going on, and you know, we have an appointment at the end of this life, and it's just like who knows, like who knows like what happens after. For me, like my faith, I do believe like, yo, me accepting Christ, I'm going to see a world that has no pain, no suffering, no overthinking. I believe that, you know, because one thing that my belief does have is like, you don't have to get to heaven to experience it. You can experience heaven here.
Yeah.
And I definitely believe that. And like I said, I really want to be like that reflection of Christ inside of me, and when people are around, to feel that love and to feel seen, because many stories like in the Bible is like Jesus meeting people where they were at and feeding that faith to them and saying, yo, get up, you got it, you
that's
know,
what I mean
get
by
up and
like
walk.
being more like God, like, if you will, like that's like, I feel like getting closer to that is like kind of what helps me navigate through life, and that helps me see that there is like a higher power in times when I doubt it, if you will, because it's like it's almost like being more at peace or more at zen with like the way things are going or on the path, because that's kind of how it's depicted, if you will, like kind of like being like, all right, this could tip the scales, but it's like being more godly about it or godlike about it would be to be, you know what I'm saying, kind of just ever present with it, where it's like, nah, like even in like the moment of like something where you feel is going to be difficult, treating it like, nah, it's not difficult because we have that within us, you know what I'm saying. That for me has helped me through a lot of challenging points in time, where it's like, okay, if you really tap into being as close to this as you can, like just being, you know, then like you kind of will be on the right path.
Yeah. And I honestly believe like when people like continue to seek for truth, like they will really find that truth. Like I really believe that. Like when you seek it with all your heart and all your being, you'll find it. It's like you're really trying to find like a treasure. So yeah, man. Whew, let's take a breather.
Yeah, I mean, use this to transition to how you got into the use this to talk about how you got into the Ruach Space.
Yeah. So like I said, like my relationship with God, like God gave me the idea. I just saw like the word Ruach, and Ruach, like I said, means God's breath, his wind, his Holy Spirit, the one that leads you. One thing about me, like I'm gonna be very like authentic about who I am. I'm not gonna lie like, oh, I'm this, because I'm not this like righteous person, because like when I started to do that, that's when I fell on my face and got humbled really quickly. So like one thing about the creativity that I've been blessed with in like life, I feel like I can intertwine those two, and also like on a spiritual level, intertwine all three to show like the journey of life. So like that space is for like people to grow together. And I said like my first post, I was like, you know, I do believe in God. I do believe that Jesus is my savior. I do believe in the Holy Spirit. And I'm not going to always say that my theology or my belief is right, but I'm here to have
I like that. I love that how like when you came out with that, like it kind of showed what you were talking about, like right now, where you're like going forward, you really want it to be about just the message itself.
Yeah, just like let's all figure it out together. But like I said, I know where my solid rock is, but like just like learning how to do this thing called life together. You know what I mean? Like there's certain, I guess I can say, like standards that like people in church really want like us to live up to, but it's like we always forget about the process of getting there. Like we're not going to be perfect the next day. I might want to, curse somebody out one day and I'll be like, dang, like that's not right. But it's going to take me some time to like work through that, maybe like that irritation, or maybe like, why am I viewing that person that way? Like it's really like a heart check. Like that space is supposed to be like a heart check for people, like I just want people to love each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I want to challenge people's thoughts. Like there was this one post that I did where I said that God used music to save my life. And a lot of religious people, like I put like Roddy Ricch, I put like Tyler the Creator, Mac Miller, and Kanye West. And a lot of religious people are like, oh my gosh, that's so unholy. But it's like those artists were literally reflecting an experience that I was also going through, and that kept me here. Because if I didn't have those people talking about these experiences, then I'll feel like very alone. You know what I mean? So like things like that, like I like to be honest about those types of experiences because I feel like all of our stories connect, and we can all learn something from each other. But you have to be open to learning and not be so closed off to life. You know what I mean?
I think something we could talk about that you mentioned that's cool that you talk about in the Ruach Space is the relation between God and music. Like, you mentioned all those artists, and like I feel like that's an interesting topic at how do you feel like the role that plays into like the artists and like artists in general? Like I feel like that's something they often like, wherever they lie on that spectrum, wear on their sleeve often.
It's interesting. I think my honest take on it, I think that religion,
outside religion, relationship to God, because honestly we all realize here that none of us really vibe with the idea of like religion.
Okay, well but that's what I'm gonna say. Our relationship with God is like something that we all use as like, and this I'm like skeptical to talk about this because like I just had this conversation with my mom about this, and like
did it go kind of left?
I think she understood where I was coming at it, but I just don't know if she necessarily like, I don't know, she's like just too I don't think she's like too happy about me talking about it in any aspect of it, but within it, like I feel like people sometimes are too eager to kind of like separate themselves, and like within that is just kind of like not always, often putting themselves into certain groups, and like which is part of your personality. So I think like just showing off your personality is you show like that's just like a huge part of what defines you as a person. Like your stance on relationship with God, and that almost in a certain sense also touches on who you are morally, who you are ethically. So like that kind of layer that you wear is something that I can see why artists would bring that very forefront, like in whatever, like
I haven't put much thought into it, but like exactly, like it's something that like I see it, and it's kind of like I get why it's there, but like, I guess I haven't put much thought into it, and I can see how like it's an interesting concept, because as an artist there's also things people do to garner attention, and that's why maybe that's what made me think of this whole wormhole, because when you brought it up, you mentioned how people were telling at you like, oh, this music is this and this music is that, but because it's like it's hard with that nature that music has, and like of how do you say, like people wear that because their identity within it, but then sometimes what you're doing, like the other part of that identity is like they're an artist and entertainer, and then that being included in that sometimes makes it confusing to interpret whether it's like real or not, you know what I mean? But that's like with anything, because you being that, you know what I mean, anything real you decide to share, you know, about yourself can be interpreted like you might have just put that for this or that for that. So it's like, who are we to really be the ones to judge when someone is trying to like, because almost like, what is a testimony?
No, that's literally how I look at like music, as testimonies, or what somebody's literally like spiritually and emotionally going through. And that's a way to like put it out there, and help other people get like process that emotion. One very big thing that I put in there was just like, it didn't stop with the music, because like that wasn't something where it was just like I'm just going to keep indulging myself in it, but it was like God can use any and everything to keep you here. And like, and I want to be careful when I say that too, because like people can get very extreme with like certain like statements.
You were just saying that was just a vessel. That was
like,
one of the ways.
It was one of the ways that it reached me. Like it can literally, like I met somebody and they told me that God spoke to me through a tree, and I was just like, yo, maybe he has a connection with nature. Like whatever garners your attention. Like it's wild. Like I think there's a scripture that talks about like, to the pure all things are pure, and like and it talks about like when you look at the evil and everything, there's like a heart problem with you. And it's just like, for me, like with things, I try to look at the pure side of it, like the good side of it, basically. Like, what can I learn from this? Not like, oh, this thing is just so bad and is out to kill me, but it's like, what am I missing right now? You know. And that's when I like just inviting y'all into my spiritual life. That's when I ask God, I'm just like, show me, you know, like give me wisdom on like what's actually going on here. You know what I mean? But like, it's not just confined to me. I think like also what religion does, it can make people feel like having a relationship with God is like so out of reach, like is this exclusive thing. But God is all around us. God's here now. Like, it's
definitely felt like that
intangible.
At times.
You know what I mean?
I felt like it was a really like far out of reach thing for me, where it was just like,
it's
maybe
not.
I've gone like too far from it. But you know, at times you just feel like, I don't know, maybe you don't feel like that's not the case, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there's signs and things that you run into in life, like you said, like these near-death experiences where you're like, wow, it's all around, like it's right there.
Yeah.
Like it's not far.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right in front of your face. And that's why I was bringing up stillness earlier too, because in stillness you'll get to recognize like, yo, we're actually here. We're actually breathing air. We're actually having conversation right now. And I don't know if I can disclose the information, but you know what I mean? Like we're here right now. And there's this, I always get inspired by scripture. There's this like story, his name is Elijah the prophet, where he was running away from like this lady called Jezebel. She was killing all the prophets of God, and like he was hiding in the cave because he was afraid of like walking into his calling. Please go check this. Don't just take my word for it. Let me just say that. But like it was this one part of the scripture where it talks about like there was like wind blowing, but God wasn't in the wind. Then there was like, I think it was like a tornado or a hurricane, and it's like God wasn't in the tornado, but God was in a still quiet like wind, like he was in stillness. And like, you know, let's say for example, if we get into a heated conversation, we're not hearing each other. We're just trying to get our point across. But it's not until we take a step back and we take a breather of like, okay, let's really listen to understand, to hear what each person is trying to say, like that specific like perspective. You know what I mean? So like in moments like this, like I'm not afraid of silence anymore. I'm not afraid of stillness. And it's just like, I feel like you can be present and see what's actually going on in that moment than all the noise. You know what I mean?
I do, and I think you explained that really well. I feel like you should like create like an episodes of stories in the Bible, like Atlanta.
Oh my goodness. You know, I've talked about that with my friends, because like people be thinking that it's all sweet and stuff in the Bible. No, you know what I just learned? So one of my favorite stories is the Book of Esther, and just to keep it short, Esther became queen and she saved like her people. She had a Jewish background, and one queen got dethroned because she disobeyed the king, Ahasuerus or something like that. I can't pronounce it right because I don't know the original, name, how to pronounce it. But one thing I it was just so crazy because like I was talking to this guy, he's Jewish and he has a rabbi, and you know rabbis know all the historical information about these stories. I just thought that Queen Vashti got dethroned and kicked out of the kingdom. No, Shadi got beheaded. Like her head got cut off.
See, like imagine that in the episode and
Like-
some people being like, whoa, but then they can't really react because like they gonna get beheaded. Like
Exactly. Like, I don't know who made these fairy tales up, but it's not sweet up. It's not sweet.
some
up in
stuff
there.
would be hard to like in that sense to like just decide to come up with. To be like, I'm gonna just add this in for pizzazz. Like that was a little wild pizzazz right there. Like
Yeah. I think like when you see stories for what they truly are, like, and not just listen to other people, you'd be like, dang, low key, this stuff
like,
is
that was
crazy.
really detailed and crazy. Like either
Yeah.
you were like you know what I'm saying, either you really saw this or like you had some crazy dreams going on in the BC. Like I don't think you've seen this much yet, but
I think it's interesting. You know, I like doing historical research, but like shows like that, like I definitely plan on making like not the corny, you know, the corny like.
yeah, like I feel like we could take a new spin on that because I mentioned before, I'm very familiar with those films. Like
Yeah.
my dad loves those films. Bro.
Yeah.
Like he watch those all the time. Like if there's nothing on, like a really cool film, but like
Yeah.
imagine like kind of like a cool version of that where it was like people wanted to watch it
Yeah.
because of just like it being like new and like it being like, damn, this is this story
Yeah.
like every day, but it was the real stories
Like,
because
it's
the
a
real
real
stories are
story.
really like interesting as they are. So I feel like
yeah.
you know what I mean? People are into like audiobooks nowadays. They're into all different kind of versions of stuff
Visually
being
on the
reiterated. Like imagine it like that.
That'd be sick. That'd be some real shit, honestly.
Like Bible stories, but Game
I
of
think I
Thrones
only say
level?
episodes.
That'd be
Yeah,
sick.
and I think I only say episodes because like I remember the movies being real long.
Yeah, like it has to be like parts.
Well,
but
think
yeah.
about how long the Bible is.
Yeah,
bro. Of
exactly.
course
Like,
it
we
has to
need
be
like
episodes.
Game of
You can't
Thrones
There's
level
so many-
seasons, like 5 seasons, 6 seasons.
There's so many stories that I haven't read, but my thing is like with those types of stories, I want to be like very intentional about researching because, like I said, that book right there, it can be problematic for people, but it's like when you actually see like what's going on and
But
like
the world could be problematic people, and I feel like that's how Atlanta survives right now.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
real life is really problematic. Like, and it's
Yeah.
almost like you can play out those themes of like that was why the Bible was like that because it was people's real like salvation. Like he really saved people within that
Yeah.
authority. Like they were going through all this different stuff in the world, all the worldly issues.
Yeah, very worldly
Like, that
issues
we were
like
going through right
oppression of
now.
women, people, you know, being sexually assaulted. You know what I mean? Like, husbands, like it was just a lot. You'd be like, yo, this was all happening back then.
And we feel like that now. Like when we
Exactly.
see people put these shows, we're like, this is going on. We're like,
Yeah,
wow.
it's just like I like the raw stuff. Like I like the real. Like show me what's going on. Don't tell me, oh yeah, you know, she got the throne and she made queen. No, that girl got
Yeah.
her head cut off.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So but like I said, I want to be very intentional with that because I like this is a personal goal of mine. Like I want to go back to like what they call like the Holy Land and like walk through like the story. Yeah,
it's like a
like
pilgrimage they call it, right? Or no? Is
I
that
don't
not what it's
know.
called?
I don't know.
I feel like that's what it's called for like certain.
Yeah, okay. Because I feel like I've heard of there being like a there's
know
like a
there's, like,
process
yeah.
to that, right? Like where you can go there and like really
Yeah.
discover everything there is to like.
Yeah, I want to walk through that. Like, look, don't be surprised if you don't see me for 3 years. I'll probably
That would
in a
be really
different
cool.
country.
That would
You
be
know
crazy
what I
to
mean?
like see. Honestly, for you to just be like, wow, like I went here and like.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've always been that kind of person. Like if you're gonna do something, you're not gonna like half do it.
You're so right. You're so
No.
right. Because like when I have like one specific goal, it's like I'm going to get through it. You know, like. But it's just because like I really believe in something. You know, when you have that belief in that fire. Oh, nothing's gonna stop you, you know. Obviously having all your morals and everything in check, like you're not gonna cross nobody. But like when you just see a vision and it's so clear, you have to go for it. You have to.
That's
Yeah.
pretty true. So what part of where is it that you want to go explore? Like kind of like Israel? Like,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I want to go to Israel. I want to go through it all, like literally from the beginning. And just see like even where like Jesus
Egypt
got
and, like-
baptized and all that, huh?
I was sorry. I was just in like Egypt and like going through
Yeah.
like that whole like.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah, like Egypt's in the Bible too. Story of Joseph.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of that Disney movie.
That movie is.
I literally like as soon as you said Egypt in the river, I thought of that
Joseph.
river and the baby floating in the river. Like that scene just popped in my head. Like I was just like,
Joseph, and that
man, that was
was
monumental. Like,
man. Joseph.
I remember watching that back like as a little kid, like 1,000,000 times. Like I feel like I just seen that movie so many times.
That was like my first Ruach talk, because like with Joseph, if you're familiar, like he was a dreamer, right? And like he shared his dream with so many, like his brothers and his father, and his brothers was like, yeah, you're gonna reign over us one time, and then you think you're gonna reign over us, and then literally his brothers sold him into slavery because they didn't believe in his dream. They're like, oh, you're a
Imagine
dreamer.
coming out the womb, bro. Everybody on your head, like they trying to get you. Like I'll be hot. Like I just came in the game.
But like how, like it can even speak to our own lives. Like we can tell our dreams to like other people, and people be like, yeah, all right. And then it doesn't even have to be
it
slavery.
goes to that age-old story, like I see you're
Yeah.
saying, of just like someone being just like them not wanting disruption, people not wanting disruption of whatever's going on and being different, and like that being like that story. I feel like that's what they put it as like a cartoon and all that, because they wanted to show it was universal, like that. This story was made. They told this story for this reason, to show you that universally, like people that are gonna kind of like dream and take us out of times, like they're gonna face adversity.
Yeah, big dreamers always face adversity. They always do, but guess what? At the end, it still prevailed. The calling over his life still prevailed. That couldn't stop him. It may have, but like when I look at that like journey of him just like being sold into slavery by his own brothers. Dang, man, your own brother, your own family, blood.
Crazy.
And then like you being in the pit for like, I don't know how long. You know how like Joseph's faith in just believing like, yo, it is what it is. I want to be content in this circumstance and still see him like get exalted as king. Like that was just really inspirational for me. You know, like we may have pits, but like those pits can like really be like maybe a heart check for us. Like, you know, like what really matters does my dream like exalt like where my heart is at? Because like even I was watching this video, they were like, I'm happy that God didn't bless me so soon, because I wouldn't even know how to handle it. Like when you get to that point, you're gonna be like, yo, I appreciate the journey so much. Like now that I'm here and I had to do all that hard work, and you know I had some falls, I was humbled a little bit. It's just like you can appreciate the blessing more when you walk through like trials and adversity like that. You know what I mean? So keep on dreaming and keep on walking. It's gonna happen.
That's deep. That's deep. That's beautiful.
That's funny.
One thing that you mentioned, and I think it was kind of key. You mentioned how watching it as a kid, like that animated version of it, kind of opened your eyes, or it let you kind of enjoy it more, and like kind of, like that. It was that introduction. Like it was some deep shit, but like that.
Yeah, that story, like it was like they really wanted you to get that story. Like they were showing the universal factor in that story. Yeah, and it helped me get it, because I was just like, oh, like all right, like this is one of those stories. Because like you said, it was in that time period where I was going to Catholic church. Like I wasn't necessarily able to connect that deeply. I was like too young, but that was one of the instances where I was really able to connect deeply with that sense, at least, of him being a dreamer, and like me feeling bad for them trying to like, you know, sell him into that and all that.
No, it's true. I was thinking about it because it was like how you were saying, like in making the story for wanting to do like the Bible stories, or the, you know, the different stories that have those kind of meanings. But sometimes it's kind of hard to relay that, because like you were saying, like there is movies and things that exist, and like I know because like my grandma likes those, but I personally, they never resonated too much with me. Like they're interesting to watch, but it's not like it doesn't hit us in the same way, right? And then I was when you said that about like that movie, it made me think like it's very interesting when you take the approach of trying to explain like these really deep topics enough so that a child can understand it.
Yeah.
You know?
So beautiful.
It's like that's when they really got into their bag on it, because they were
Shout out DreamWorks.
Yeah, because they were really like
DreamWorks.
going at that angle right there of like, this has to be like for kids to understand it, but this is a universal big adult lesson moral.
Do you have a question for both of y'all? Like, do y'all think that, you know, maybe the Bible story remakes or whatever remakes don't speak to y'all because like that creator didn't have an experience with that story?
That's interesting.
Because like when
I get what you're getting at, because
You know
say
what I
some of
mean?
those were made in like really big movie studios and stuff too back in the days, like back in the days of
Yeah.
Hollywood. So I don't know necessarily, you're right, like if the person was on the like so extra religious stuff, or were they on like,
was it like
money,
you have like
business?
a connection with this story? Because like it's nothing like somebody feeling where you're at, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like when you feel something, you're gonna explain those emotions, you know what I mean?
I think one part where me, at least, where I feel like they kind of got right, or what they were trying to go for, I see, was some of the grandness that they depicted within it. Because I feel like they put a lot into the budget of making it look as big as it sounded or whatever. But I feel like in some points about it, they like you said, like it didn't come through though. Like I didn't feel like they put as much emphasis maybe on, like, you're right, like the way it would personally connect to them. So then transferring that into the screen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it was more so just like, I'm trying to reiterate a story the best I can.
Yeah.
Rather than
like with the basic facts and all that stuff. But it's like, are you spiritually connected?
It's kind of like a biography. They feel biography.
Yeah,
You know, autobiography, where it's
exactly.
just like trying to get the timestamps right.
Exactly. And then you're like rushing a story that can have a deeper meaning, and now we all missed it because we rushing.
That's true.
And that goes into what we were talking about a little earlier with the whole Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like spin-off thing, like where it's like when you kind of get the what if thing, it's like you get a chance to kind of like, how
dive deeper, like character development and like all
when
that
you
stuff.
kind of make it like a outside of an autobiographical thing, where it's just like, this is where you can kind of be like, okay, this is the theme you want to get across, this is the message in it, this is the main points, like let's get that across. Like
film is so deep, it's deeper than just, you know, motion picture. Is you have to connect with the audience. Yeah, it's deeper than that.
but
So, no, I agree. I agree with what you were saying on that. I think it's very much about making that connection. I kind of wanted to ask, like, within that, like, what is... I know you mentioned the wanting to kind of explore those stories, but what is it that... What kind of stories that you want to tell? Like
my
you,
personal stuff.
Yeah, like...
and then we'll get to life affirmations too, because it's 10:17.
We've been chopping it up. Real life stuff, like just like every other artist, like telling the raw truth. Like I'm not the, you know, I believe some people might be uncomfortable, but with like some of the stories I may tell. But one of my professors said, like, film is supposed to be disruptive. It's supposed to get people to think, you know. And I believe, like, when we tell authentic stories, it's just different. It opens up your eyes a little bit more. For me, I really want to get into like mental health. I also said, like, I want to tie in spirituality and mental health too. You know, like I always want to tie in those two, because that's just been my whole experience, like real life and then the spiritual aspect of it, and seeing how both of those two play a part in everything.
Like, I could see that being a magnum opus though, no cap.
Really?
Like, just look at it, like the idea of those two coming together in like one art piece would kind of like encapsulate it all.
Yeah.
Because like the journey and the struggle people deal with that, like, you know what I mean, and the journey that and the peace they can like find.
But like
from,
even the psychological part of it too.
Yeah, like that's all connected right there, and like that could be like a crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something people don't really fully understand.
And I think that's a great way to like get into the film industry. One person that really does well with it, I would say like Jordan Peele, like he does really good with like psychological like thrillers. I think he does tie in a little bit of spirituality into it as well, but like you can go even deeper. Like this, like people's beliefs literally dictate how they move and treat people.
Yeah, like
it gets deep. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the type of stories I want to make.
That's dope.
That's crazy. I'm like seeing the movie right now. I'm like, I can see the trailer. It's like, what do you believe?
That's so funny. Because like I've always been so fascinated with the mind. Like even with Not From This World, my first like slogan or question was like what did I say? Oh my gosh. Do you ever like, have you ever wondered what the person in front of you is like thinking? You know, like, have you ever wanted to step into their world and see like how they live? Like, I'm very interested in like realities.
Oh yeah, I've definitely thought about like the one screenwriting class I ever I thought of like a funny idea, but it was just because it was like me and my dad have always joked about it, like just hearing people's thoughts, like that idea of like the movie where it's like, what if you could just like hear somebody's thoughts, like, and I just thought of like, you know, being like on some security, like what if you had like a security guard, you know what I mean, and like he could just like, but that was the thing, like he could just hear like everybody, or like everybody could hear, or he could hear everybody's thoughts, like that was like a superpower, and then like, you know what I mean, but it was like a comedy, and then by the end of it, things went awry, like because you know what I mean, like it just got too crazy, like hearing everybody's thoughts. Like.
That's funny. I think I also want to like get into comedy a little bit, like Key and Peele. They're so funny. Like it's just like they take one simple concept and they just flip it into a whole like thing. Yeah, I want to get into comedy because I mean, I think I'm kind of funny. I think I didn't really like practice my jokes here, but like y'all gonna see like the thoughts that are in my head. Like it's pretty funny. It's pretty fun. I'm doing a skit, and it should be coming out, hopefully. I'm not going to put a timestamp on it, but it's going to come out.
You're doing that while you're out here, though, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't even get to talk about that we could mention that, too, for Untitled Affirmations, that you've been back in D.C., and you actually just came back here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm only here visiting.
But, like, just, like, on some, like, you just popped in.
Yeah, I came to visit a friend, but also it's, like, there was just something that was just in my heart, and I'm just like, yo, let's do it. And I have like very awesome creative people around me, and y'all can just check it out.
Now you're located for sure, like, but out there then everything is
I'm
centered.
in DC for sure.
Gotcha.
We're gonna see if I come back out here, because I know I've been moving back and forth. Jaidah, make a decision. Like,
well, I mean, hey, don't look at us. We may not be here.
Look, I might be somewhere else. Nah, but I really want to take. I want DC to be like the new film place. Like it's not just LA and New York and DC for political films. Like there's so
randomly?
much. What?
I met someone like 2 nights ago from DC, and they were really dope. And I wondered maybe if you knew them. You just reminded me because I thought about this completely, like how like people come to DC and like us moving there. It was this guy. His name was. I'm gonna look it up, Raj, because like I have to, because it was like he was a producer on like the, what do you call it, like the Tiny Desk.
Yeah, show me.
And like I was at a
I wouldn't be surprised if some of my friends know him.
I was at a club out here called The Dime, like, and they have like a one DJ every week, so DJ Artistic on Mondays. But there was another dude that was there, and he was coming from. He was like, "Oh, it's my first time out here."
It's his first time.
Like from over there.
When people say DC, do they really mean DC? Like
is it like when people say LA?
Yeah, see, but like that's the thing though. Okay, like outsiders, I'd be like, yeah, I'm from LA, but like here, I'd be like, nah, I went to high school in Santa Cruz. Yeah. Let me see. I do not know that man.
Right. I don't know who it is
that
neither.
Man. Just like Kiki Fun. Sorry to that man.
But his set was really good, and it reminded me of the music that y'all were doing, and then he made me remember that like, cause I was like, oh man, he works for Tiny Desk. So I realized that that's out there.
I'll search him up. I wouldn't be surprised.
But going to what you said, like, how's the culture out there? Like, I feel like you said it's like something people have to come see. Like, there's like a lot going on out there.
Film wise, I think DC is like a pool of opportunity. Like people really sleep on that area. Like we're more than just the monuments, y'all.
Yeah,
there's so much culture out there that people are missing out on. So just know, we'll see what happens in the next couple of years.
So this part of the pod is, we usually do the life affirmation segment, and we go around and say one thing that we look at differently in the past month, 2 years, weeks. It could be any amount of time really, but for me today, I feel like I have like a little bit of time to think. I think my life affirmation is gonna be that to kind of just learn to like learn to think deeper than like the surface, I guess, at times. I feel like when you're young, I think that's something that like maybe like when I was young, I practiced a little bit more of like sometimes it's not looking too deep into certain things because it would just be like, how do you say, like not important at the moment, but then later on in life a lot of things kind of come back at you in a way where you're just like, wow, that was like an area to look deep in, or to just like kind of process more, understand more. And I feel like over time there's a lot of things in life where you kind of just like, you have like a deep feeling about, and you like the connection to it all, maybe in like how you say like traumas and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But then you don't necessarily make the connection to it until later. And I think that's something, for me at least, I've been pondering, that where it's like, man, sometimes those gut feelings about that type of stuff is just like is right, you know what I mean? Like your gut feelings about just like this being why like you feel like this, you know, kind of like the trickle down, being like, man, maybe this is why I feel this way about this and this and that. But sometimes you're just like, nah, you know, like it's just kind of like, but in life I feel like that's one of those things I'm learning to just kind of like pay more attention into, like the domino effect of everything.
That's some real shit. And it's something that I feel like we can all try to do more of, you know. It's always good to reflect, and especially like when we're younger and like in those moments when we feel like there's a lot that's kind of distracting, that's like the best time, like you're saying. But shit, man, on kind of on that wave, and like I feel like this was the second half of the conversation that I was having with Mom, and I've been wanting to say this on the podcast for some time, but I was like, I wasn't sure about it, like, but I feel like it's very in context of what we were talking about today. It was how a lot of the like, and this might be like a hot take or like but a lot of the world's problems are just based off the fact that we don't know the answer to like what is God, or like that there isn't like a definitive thing. And like you trace that back to like, because I mentioned earlier that a large part of like religion is like a moral and ethic code for people. And so like with that, combined with teaching that over and over again as the years progress and as generations go on, a large part of like who we are morally and ethically is based off of like what we were exposed to, like as far as learning how to act in a society. And like within that, it's like something that's been like passed down over and over and over and over and over through years. And a large part of that is like a root of what we determine as like our moral and ethical standard. And like, because there's no definitive thing that we can say like, all right, this is how things are supposed to be, so many different people have come up with their own ideas as to what certain moral and ethical things are. And I feel like that disconnect of like not seeing eye to eye, and that is what leads to like a lot of the world's problems. And I feel like that's kind of like that's just my take on it, is that us not knowing has caused so much like pain and suffering in the world. And it's like, and it's all it basically, my affirmation with it is kind of realizing how much pain and suffering we cause over stuff that we don't know. And that's just trying to like, me trying to reflect on it, and one, trying to like, on me and on my end, try not to be, I mean, like, I really try my hardest not to be judgmental on anybody's religion, because like I really said, I don't think anyone has it right, but I don't think anyone has it 100% right, but I think everyone has a good portion of it. And like connecting those pieces is like my way of trying to get it with it. But like, I'm not trying to like just flat out say like anyone is like straight, like full wrong. I mean, and it's kind of what it sounds like saying, but within that, I'm trying to say is like me trying to not be as judgmental on that, because that aspect of that, we're fighting over the idea of something that we can't even prove. We can't, like, some people will go and like, there's been full wars fought over just the concept of God, and like it's crazy to see that, like, that concept. And so like that's just where I'm trying to lie with it, is just trying to not be as judgmental over people over things that we both don't know. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Deep. Yeah. human beings are something else, aren't we? Aren't we? Ooh. My affirmation. Oh my gosh, is this the last day of like March? What is
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Nice.
Actually, tomorrow is, I think.
Yeah, it's tomorrow, I think. Yeah, my whole affirmation for this month has just been like faith over fear, and not to allow like the conditions I see around me to like dictate how I move. Like that's really it. Like I said, you know, I'll still be moving the same way if I have $5 in my pocket versus $100 versus $1,000. Like I'm not gonna allow, you know, things around me to stop me. It's been too long. So yeah, having faith over fear. That's my affirmation.
That's beautiful. Well, shit. Thank you for coming. It was
Thank you.
I know that's the one you wanted to do.
That's my song.
Yeah, you're like, that's the jam. But yeah, thank you for coming through for real.
Thank you for having me, y'all. I was excited. I was like, Wesley was trying to tell me, yeah, we're gonna do a phone interview. I was like, I want to be a person. You know?
I know, yeah. We almost didn't make him. Reese almost jetted out of here.
Yes, but thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming. Any
Appreciate
last
y'all.
things you want to?
Let them know we know where to find you at, where to
Oh,
see your stuff.
snap.
You know?
Yes. I am, so you can follow me on Instagram at the Ruach Space, and Ruach is spelled RUACH, the Ruach Space. Or you can follow me part-time on TikTok, because I am on TikTok. Your girl Jaidah, and that's spelled JAIDAH. So yeah, that's where you can find me. And keep on dreaming, kiddos. Keep dreaming big.
Hell yeah.
What they say? Keep on rocking in the free world. Do loot. I felt like that's what you were about to say. Look, like when you said that in my head, I sounded like you was gonna say that.
I can't steal his mistake. I can't steal
I know.
his
That's why,
mistake.
like, it sounded like you were saying. Like, I had to say it. Like, it was in my head. You were like,
Keep dreaming.
I thought you were about to say, keep on.
Oh man. Well, peace out,
Peace
everyone.
out. Bye.
Mind Tree Radio.
Look inside yourself and find your wealth. I don't care what's on the outside of everything. I'm inside the brain, you know I'm membraning. Losing everything I'm saying, chemistry. Flipping all these bars, you know I'm meditating. Cutting up this dope rhyme for you to sniff. Every time I rap a flow, they flip their head. Like, man, this shit go crazy. Peace signs, middle fingers. Yeah, that boy too wavy, but he full of toxic hate. How the fuck he gon' float? All I know is that my heart's swollen, and it's bigger than ever. So what you consoling? I got hands in my Twitter, they wanna know I'm golden. To the haters and the dividends, spit it up for me to win. Back again in the wind. Gone with it though. My time different though. I can't see what I saw yesterday, I'm visioned out. I gotta look within the cup I'm sipping out. Way down the rhythm, I can't find my drought. I lost all my breath and my whole account turned to zero. Everybody know I ain't no hero. I got a lot to share with the world. Like a prophet with my brain in a swirl. Everybody know that this gift is not given. It come with a curse, so I'm fucking living like it's my last day. Flying away, everybody laying prayer for me. Throw that holy water on your boy's face. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to the next day, but I'm here again. Everybody past tense, fuck them. They ain't not here now. I wish you was though, damn I'm drowned. In the pool of flames, everybody know my name, but I'm alone though. Hey, what's the shame? What's the shame? That was cold. We did it.
Mind Tree Radio.
Hey, hands up, hey, hands up, hey, woo, yeah, whoa, 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 whoa. Tapping in, tap your friends, smack them, man. They ain't listen to this shit. I heard they back again. That's them boys. Went up in the cave. We finna make some noise. What? Put your hands hands up, move your feet, get your dance up, get your crew here, everybody know it stands us. Stuck inside my mind, I need to let go. So let's inside the sun and let our hearts glow. Whoa, we gon' take it to the moon. Anybody vibing, we gon' get them all consumed. Deep with this rhyme, slow with the time, moving your heart, stuck in that rhyme. Aye, how the fuck we break out? We ain't stuck in a box no more, I told them bitches to shake out. Come over here, we broke their mental up, we bout to shake all they fears. Give me that tag, give me that drug, hey, blow me the love, blow me the sun. Whoa, where did you go, where did you run? All that I know is fucking fun in the sun today. So I'ma groove with it, move with it, slap with the ass, ain't cool with it, do with it. Play them games if you want to, but I'ma rap this other flow. I want you to follow me down to the lake, take it to the abyss, break them on their face, ayy, slowing on they roll, ayy, breaking on their case, ayy, they don't wanna troll, ayy, they just wanna shake, ayy, so, ayy, move your feet, move your heart, ayy, move your mind, move your star, ayy, understand, collect spine, ayy, burn that pace, that gas, ayy, burn that thing, get that mask, ayy, burn that thing, mean that man, ayy, Hey, I don't control the flow, but I let it roll like the dice in my hand. Shaking out the plan, they don't wanna see your boy catch a lucky streak. But I'm stacking all my money on the fucking street. Cause they don't know how to get it to the majors or the industry. But middle fingers, peace signs up diligently. That's gonna take us there anytime we come, G. So matter of fact, shake some hands, make it to the back, and exchange the plans, yeah. But what you wanna do? You ain't not for it all, then you ain't coming through. Ooh. Yeah, peace sign, middle fingers. Where y'all going? Hey. Nah, come back. I'm still rapping, still snapping, it's fucking fun. I don't care about these hoes in the fucking sun. I just live in the dark, I'm talking tombs like Dracula. Bobbing my head, they know I move, I'm back at you. Neck.
Vine Tree Radio.